Hey everyone, my name is Lou Reyes and welcome to Over 50 TV. When I owned a chain of business-to-business magazines and later on a weekly newspaper, if I had an employee who wasn't performing up to the standards that we set, if I had an employee that wasn't improving, especially after a number of sit-downs or warnings, letting them know that they just weren't doing the work that we needed them to do, if I had an employee like that, I had no problem calling them into my office, sitting them down, looking them in the eye and saying, you know what, this isn't working out. It's not a good fit. I'm going to have to let you go. I was upfront with those employees. Unfortunately, though, there are many companies who would rather, for whatever reason, they'd rather just drag it out. They think it's a better strategy to just let that over time, let them basically kind of weed themselves out, or eventually, after some humiliation, the person just walks out and just says, you know, I can't do this anymore. So in this video, what I thought I would do is I'm going to share with you 7 tips, 7 strategies that companies use, basically how companies get rid of older workers. And that, my friends, that's up next right here on Over 50 TV. Job elimination. I think that's one of the most common ways that companies will get rid of an older worker. What they do is they let the employee know that, hey, we're eliminating your position, your services are no longer required. What you find out later on, because you're going to end up talking to a coworker, former coworker, at some point you'll do that, and what you're going to find is that job was just eliminated, but the same responsibilities and basically everything that you were doing is now being done by somebody else. And sometimes that person is much, much younger than you. Companies will go ahead and they'll eliminate a job because it just prevents a little bit of they don't want animosity, and they feel like this is the best way to do it. I'll get rid of this person by just telling them I'm eliminating their job. You probably heard this excuse many, many times over the years. Again, it's probably the most common way, most common excuse that companies will use when they want to get rid of an older worker. Layoff. Layoff is also a very common way for companies to basically get rid of older workers. And when they do a layoff, what happens is they'll produce a list of maybe 10% of the employees, 15, 20, maybe even just 5% of the employees. If you look at that list, that'll give you an idea of where you fit in the layoff. If you notice that most of the people on that list are older workers, or if you notice that half of them are older workers and the other half are people who are not productive, who aren't producing, because after all, they're not going to get rid of the people that they feel that they really want to keep. No, they're going to get rid of the people that they don't want. So layoff is a common way for a company to just let people go. And it's always easy to say, you know what, business isn't doing well. I don't have a choice. You know, it's not my fault. You know, they're distancing themselves from your pain. They're distancing themselves from the layoff. But layoff, again, it's a very common way for companies to get rid of older workers. Suddenly incompetent. You know, this way really angers me, because I think what people do, what companies will do when they all of a sudden, now you're suddenly incompetent. You suddenly can't do the things that you've been doing for years. You can't do them properly. But it does anger me, because what it does is it just drags out this whole process. If you don't want someone to work for you, let them go. Let them go. Give them some dignity. Just say, this isn't working out. But if you're letting them go and you're saying all of a sudden now you suddenly are incompetent, you can't do the job, and you nitpick and you nitpick. And what companies do oftentimes when I see this happening is what they're doing is they're just building a case to let you go. They're building a case so that they are, and they're concerned, believe me when I say they're concerned about age discrimination lawsuit. So what they do is they just say, this person, I've got a list of all these things this person can't do. And what you're going to find sometimes, you're going to find that other people in the company are doing the same things that you're doing. And they are doing them the same way that you're doing them. But they're not being singled out. And what I suggest you do is compare those people who are doing what you're doing and not being reprimanded. Are they younger? Are these people, are they truly incompetent, or are they competent? So ask yourself those questions. But when I see somebody who all of a sudden now is incompetent, they're suddenly not able to do the job after doing it for years, to me, it's an easy way. It's an easy call. Yeah, it's age discrimination. I don't want to say that 100%, because I think there's always circumstances that I don't know about, or maybe that you are not going to see, or are not plainly obvious. But yes, suddenly incompetent, suddenly dumb, suddenly stupid, whatever you want to call it, definitely it's a way to get rid of older workers. Cutting job duties. Cutting job duties is one of the ways that companies will use to force older workers out of a company. What they do is they start limiting the responsibilities, they limit the authority that that person has, or what they'll even do is start to assign them lower level tasks. If that happens to you, first question is you ask your boss or you ask the employer, why are you now cutting my responsibilities? Look them in the eye. Ask them, why are you doing this? If you don't get the answer that you want or the answer that you expect or a satisfactory answer, then in my mind I start thinking, start wondering, well, what are you doing and why are you doing this? But ask that question. Don't sit back and don't let this happen. Don't let them cut your job responsibilities or duties or limit your authority in any way. I find that companies will, if you had a job there where you were hiring, all of a sudden now you're not able to hire anymore. Had a job that you were doing some training, you can't do that. And all of a sudden now that responsibility is being given to somebody else. That's when you really start seeing, or red flags should start coming up and you start wondering, why are they doing this? But always ask the question, why are you cutting my job duties? Isolation, cutting you out of meetings, cutting you out of functions, cutting you out of luncheons, cutting you out of activities that most of the other employees, or we almost want to say all the other employees, are attending. It makes you feel like you're not part of the group. It makes you feel like, why am I here? What am I doing here? They don't want me. And eventually it does weigh down on people. And eventually, and I wouldn't blame you, but eventually what it does, it just makes you feel like, you know what, I've got to leave. This place isn't for me. They don't want me here. It's a strategy that I've seen some companies employ when they want to eliminate an older worker. And it's easy to understand why you would want to leave. But if you see that happening, ask a coworker, hey, do you know why I'm not being invited? Or ask your manager, do you know why you guys don't want me to attend this meeting? You know, let them know how you feel. I'd go to HR if you have an HR department. Let them know how you're feeling. But isolation is a strategy that companies will use when they want to get rid of an older worker. Cutting hours, another way that companies will use, another strategy that they employ to get rid of an older worker. And if you find that your hours are being cut and cut and cut, the company knows. They know that they're cutting your hours to the bone, and they know what they're doing basically is they're starving you out of a job. And I hate to be so harsh, but the reality is if you see your hours being cut, and other coworkers, people who are younger than you, if you don't see their hours being cut, the first thought you're going to have in your head, the first thought that most people would have is, are they cutting me? Are they cutting my hours because I'm an older worker, because they don't want me here? What I do, and I said this before, is go to HR, go to the top, go to the manager. If you got to go to the president of the company, go to that person and say, why are my hours being cut? I noticed that the hours for other employees are not being cut, or not being cut as drastically as my hours are being reduced. But when you go there, don't go there with anger. Don't go there upset. Go there as an inquisitive mind and say, I'm just wondering. I'd like to know, why are my hours being cut? Denying promotions or opportunities for advancement. It is a strategy that companies will use when they know they want to get rid of, or they don't value, let's just say they don't value an older worker. And what they're thinking is, if I deny this promotion to this person, and if I do it again and again and again, that person will get the hint and they're going to realize that they don't have a future with the company. Now, some companies will be thinking, well, you know what, this person, he's older or she's older, and she probably doesn't want the promotion, or she'll be retiring soon, or he'll be gone. He's not going to want to stay. You know, this isn't the job for him. He is going to be retiring in a year or 5 years. So this is a long-term job. So I'm not going to offer it to this older worker. Well, first of all, what I'll say this, it's your responsibility to go to your employer and let them know that, yes, I would like that promotion. Yes, I would definitely want to advance in this company, no matter what age you are. We are living as people who are over 50, older 60. We're living longer. We're enjoying our life. And yes, we want to make the money, the income that comes with advancement, that comes with promotion opportunities. So positively go to your manager, go to HR and say, I want to know, I would like to know, and I said this before, don't go with anger, but to go with an inquisitive mind and say, I'm wondering why I wasn't promoted. But here's something, a little bit of a tip I'll give you. When you're at that company and you're an older worker, let them know. Make no mistake about it. Make sure that they completely understand that you are there and you are interested in any promotions or advancement opportunities that may come down the road. Let them know that ahead of time, because if you let them know that ahead of time and you don't get promoted, then you should ask the question, why wasn't I promoted, and what can I do so that next time you will promote me? I'm going to go ahead and sum this up for you, but before I do, I'm going to ask you to subscribe to Over 50 TV. To do that, you just got to hit that little red button. It's underneath your screen. There's a little bell. If you hit that little bell, you'll get our latest updates and they'll be delivered to your inbox. There's a thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button so I know that you enjoyed the video, but also it lets YouTube know that you enjoyed the video, you found value in it, and hopefully what YouTube will do is they'll share this video with other people who need this information as much as you do. I've just told you how companies get rid of older workers, and essentially what I did is I outlined 7 of what I've seen, what I know are the most common strategies that companies will employ when they decide they want to eliminate a worker from their payroll. Now, what I want to stress, and I mentioned this earlier in the video here, is if you see one of these 7 steps happening to you, if you feel that you're a victim of one of these ways that companies employ to get rid of older workers, it's up to you to go to HR. It's up to you to go to your manager and let them know how you feel. Let them know that you feel a certain way and that you want to know what you can do to take care of whatever the problem might be. If you go to the manager, HR, the owner of the company, the president, if you go to them and you don't get the results that you believe you should be getting, well, then it's up to you to take the next step. The next step to me would be to sit down with somebody who understands the legal ramifications, sit down with them, talk to them, let them know how you're feeling, and ask them what your next step should be. So this is Lou Reyes with Over 50 TV. I want to thank you for watching this video, and as I always say, have a great day, everybody.